Do you struggle to come up with what to post? Is your biggest hurdle for staying consistent on Instagram simply coming up with the posts or even having the time to create them every single day? Well, if so, let your fears be no more, because in today's episode of Build Your Tribe, I'm going to be sharing with you 7 easy Instagram reel ideas that will take you less than 5 minutes to create and that are very easy to make on a daily basis, even if you have limited supplies or limited time. You aren't going to need a fancy microphone. You're not going to need a degree in communication. You're not going to need a fancy tripod or a ring light or anything like that. In fact, a few of the post ideas that I'm about to share with you could be easily created using just the videos that you already have in your phone without having to go out and record any new content. So buckle up. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more content just like this, and let's hop into the ideas. But before we do, let's lay some groundwork as to why this even matters. Because maybe there's this voice in your head that's saying, should you even keep posting? Is Instagram dead? How much should you be posting on Instagram? According to numerous studies and Instagram's CEO himself, the more you post, the more you grow. What that means is, as long as you can maintain a consistent level of quality with your reels, if you dial up the quantity or the frequency in which you're posting, then you are also going to dial up the amount of growth that you have on Instagram. Now, does that mean that you need to be posting 3-4 times a day on Instagram? Heck no. Instead, what I recommend is figuring out what you can sustain. We all have different goals. We all have different amounts of availability. Some of us have teams, some of us do not. Some of us are in a season of life that's very challenging and demanding. Some of us are in a season of life where you have a little bit of extra time on your hands to create more content. Based off all those things, I want you to figure out what you can sustain, and I don't want you to compare that to anyone else. Whether that's one post a week or one post a day or one post an hour, figure out what works for you. And then here's the key part. I want you to challenge yourself to do a little bit more, to scale up that number just a little bit. Maybe if you can consistently post 5 days a week, maybe you're going to scale up to every single day, 7 days a week. But I want you to do that without necessarily having to create more work for yourself. The purpose of Build Your Tribe and one of our founding principles is not hustle culture and spending all day on your phone or all day working and grinding and hustling. There's plenty of good that can come out of hustling and grinding and working hard. I'm a big fan of working hard, but I want you to be able to post more, show up more regularly, more consistently on Instagram or on whatever social media you choose without having to spend more time on your phone, more time away from your family or away from doing what you love. If you truly love creating content, then great, create a ton of it. But for most of us, we're creating content to grow an audience or to grow a personal brand or to grow a business so that we can then leverage that following, leverage that audience in order to grow said brand or business from a monetary perspective. And so I want to make it easy for you. I want you to put in place systems and strategies so that you can easily create more content or even just post more content without having to work harder or work more. And that's why today I'm going to share with you these 7 different ideas that should hopefully be very easy and quick for you to create and not require you to spend a lot more time, energy, or effort creating said content. I also want to say that kind of a bonus idea before we even get into these 7 is reposting things that you have already posted in the past. We like to call this strategy upcycling your content. And we typically see that when you are upcycling your best content from the past, you're going to get more views, more engagement, and more growth without having to work even one additional minute. Specifically, here's what I recommend doing. Open up your Instagram Insights and sort your posts and or your reels by whichever posts did the best. Now, did the best is going to be different for everyone. It's going to be subjective to you, right? Maybe for you, a post that did really well got 100 likes and 10 comments and it got 1,000 views. Maybe for someone else, that would be mind-blowingly awesome. And maybe for a third person, that would be like their worst post of the month. So I want you to just figure out what did best for you. And specifically, the metric or kind of engagement that I want you to look at is not the 3 that I just listed. I don't want you to really care about how many views something got, how many likes, or how many comments it received. Instead, I want you to pay most closely attention to the number of shares that the post received. So again, you're going to go into your Instagram Insights and you're going to sort your posts by those that received the most shares. I want you to specifically find a post that is 3 months old or older. So if you have posted it 90 days plus ago, 91, 92, so on and so forth ago, Those are the posts we're looking for. We're looking for posts that are not recently posted, right? They're at least a few months old and they got a high amount of shares. Those are the kinds of posts that you're going to repost. You're going to post them again. Hopefully, you already have them saved in your camera roll or even backed up in some sort of cloud-based storage like Google Drive or Dropbox, so you can easily grab that content and post it again. Or if you don't have that backed up, number one, I'm going to say definitely start backing up and saving all of your content. Number two, use a website such as snapinsta.app. It is a website, not an app. Use that website to download your reel or your post or your carousel or whatever it was so you can post it again. When you post it again, you don't need to archive the old one. You don't need to go back and delete the original. You also don't need to note that it was a repost. You don't need to tell your followers like, hey guys, this was a repost. They probably don't remember. The vast majority of people who saw it the first time are probably not going to remember that they saw it. And the people who do remember seeing it 3 months ago, despite seeing millions of posts between then and now, they're probably only remembering that post because it was that good, right? So they don't need an excuse. They don't need to be told, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. This is a repost. No, no, no. Just post it again. Most people won't remember it, and the few who do will love to see it again. They'll appreciate seeing this post again. So I recommend doing that. That's a great way to post more without necessarily having to create more or spend very much more time, working on your social media. So that's kind of like a bonus tip before we get into the 7. But to bring this all the way back to the overarching strategy that I was talking about, the more you post, the more you grow. It is statistically accurate to say that as long as the level of quality is not diminishing, when you increase the quantity, you also increase the growth. You are on top of mind. You are showing up in people's feeds more often. Even if your engagement or your views aren't necessarily increasing, your following often is increasing. So with all of that being said, let's talk about some ways that you can actually increase how much you're posting by me sharing with you 7 easy Instagram reel ideas that will take you 5 minutes or less to create so that you can post more without having to be on your phone on Instagram all day. Idea number 1 is going to be super duper simple, and it's going to actually be very similar to what we were just doing where we were looking at our Instagram insights. I want you to pull up your Instagram insights, but specifically, I want you to look at your insights for your Instagram stories. So that way you're not looking at feed posts, you're not looking at any reels or carousels that you've previously posted. Instead, you're just going to be looking at your Instagram stories. Then I want you to sort the stories either by shares or by views. Best would be to sort it by shares, but not always are you going to be getting a lot of shares on stories. So maybe you don't have any stories that have any shares, or maybe you just have a couple of stories that have a couple of shares in the last few months. And so it's not really a big enough sample size to look at. So in that case, it might be helpful for you to just sort your stories based off of views. Then I want you to pick out one of those stories that did well in terms of views or shares and post it as a reel. Maybe it was a video of you talking directly to camera. Maybe it was just a text post story. Maybe it was just a photo that you posted that was related to your niche. That's the key. As long as that story is related to your niche, if it did well as a story, you might as well turn it into a post. The number of times that I've gone off on a rant on my Instagram stories, got a lot of people replying to that story and sharing that story, and then turn that into a reel is more than I can count. Numerous times I've posted an Instagram story with maybe a lot of text, or maybe I'm talking directly to camera and sharing some tip. And a lot of people have interacted with it. A lot of people have viewed it and shared it. And so that is a clear indicator, a clear sign that this is a great Instagram story and a piece of content that people really want to see. So either go back in your camera roll to the date that you posted that story, or in your Instagram stories archive, go back to that date, find that story, and either just take a screenshot of it, save it to your camera roll, or recreate that story as a reel. It should be a very easy way for you to create content without having to come up with a new idea, or even in many cases, having to create a new post. Idea number 2 is actually the kind of post that, according to a recent study of over 1,500 social media managers, is the kind of post that provides the greatest return on investment, the greatest amount of engagement divided by the amount of time it takes to make this post, and that is meme style posts. Humor and relatable memes are one of the most engaging and most highly shared kinds of posts on all of social media. And on Instagram, it's very, very, very easy to create meme style reels. The simplest way that I would recommend doing this is going into CapCut, creating a CapCut account. It is a separate application, and going to their templates section. Within their templates section, you're going to find hundreds upon thousands of basically video based memes. Oftentimes, it's going to be little 5 to 10 second clips of famous lines from movies or funny dialogue from a TV show. These are things that are very popular, very widely used on TikTok and on Instagram, and it's just super easy to create. Usually, all you'll have to do is upload whatever photo or video you want to be in the background, and then CapCut will automatically add the cutout of something like Will Ferrell from a movie, or such and such supermodel from some TV show, and she's talking to the camera. They'll add that on top of your photo or video. And then all you have to do is add some text to relate the dialogue or the soundbite, relate the meme to your niche, and you're good to go. You're good to post it on Instagram. It's very, very share worthy. Like I said, in fact, memes are some of the most share worthy content on all of Instagram, and it will take you like 5 minutes to create. You could make a dozen of these and space them out over the course of a month in just a few minutes while you're laying in bed without any makeup or hair or anything done. You don't ever have to put your face on camera, and you're creating highly engaging content that you can use for weeks or months ahead. Idea number 3 for an Instagram reel that you could create in just a few minutes, very, very easily with the content that you already have in your phone, is before and after style reels. Pretty much no matter what industry you're in, there's likely been some sort of transformation that has happened for you, or maybe it's happened for one of your clients. In the fitness industry, that's probably the easiest example you can think of. Maybe you've lost weight, or you've put on muscle, or maybe you've improved your mile time if you're a runner. Maybe if you are an artist, you can show what your art looked like 10 years ago versus what it looks like today. Maybe if you are someone who is a social media strategist like myself, you can show how many followers you used to have versus how many followers you have today, or what your content looked like in the past versus what it looked like today. Maybe if you're someone who does food, you can show like what one of your recipes or one of your final products looked like a few years ago versus what it looks like today. And all you have to do for this is quite simply go to your camera roll and scroll back to the past. Hopefully you haven't deleted all of those old videos and old photos, but even if you have, I guess you could even just scroll back down through your Instagram and find some really old posts. Hopefully those are still up, documenting what it was like for you even just a few years ago. Take one of those as well as a recent photo, or take a recent photo or video to show the transformation and show the change. And people love these style of reels. They're super authentic and personable because you're showing not just the highlights, you're showing, the past when you maybe weren't as great at doing what you do now. So it very much humanizes your content and allows people to connect with you. Maybe even if they look up to you as someone who they want to be like one day, they're able to see that, hey, you started just like where they were. I do these style reels all the time, whether it's an old YouTube video that I posted when I was, 10 years old, and I'm comparing that to a YouTube video today that I'm posting when I'm 27. Or maybe I'm showing a clip of my first time talking on stage, or the first reel that I ever posted, to show people a before and after. It's a great transformation reel, and it helps increase one of the forms of engagement that Instagram cares about the most, which is watch time. Because when people know that there's a transformation coming or an after coming, they want to stick around to watch for it. They see the before, they see the beginning, and they want to see how do things change, seeing that change over time. And so people will stick around, and that increases their watch time, which makes the algorithm think that this reel is better than the rest. And then it helps that reel get even more views. Speaking of a transformation over time, another really cool way to show a transformation in a short amount of time, maybe shorter than, 5 to 10 years, is what's called a time-lapse video. Pretty much every smartphone now has a mode that you can switch to called time-lapse mode. And essentially, this will just take a short little photo or a short video every few seconds or every few minutes, and it will play it super sped up. So if you've ever watched like a video of the sun setting super quickly and you can see like all the clouds moving, or if you've ever seen like all the cars on the highway going like a million miles in both directions and it's all sped up, That's what a time-lapse video is. Time-lapse videos can also be used to record our day-to-day life. In fact, right now, while I'm recording this podcast, my phone is sitting over there recording a time-lapse of this entire podcast. That way, I can use that and post it as a reel. I can very easily add some background audio, maybe write some text on the screen that relates the video to whatever it is I'm talking about, a lesson, an inspirational reminder, a quote, something like that. But it's content that I don't have to intentionally make, right? I'm not speaking to the camera. I'm not recording and stopping and starting. It's very easy. It's low pressure content. It's content that I'm kind of multitasking with, right? I am recording content in terms of this podcast. I'm talking to you directly to the camera, but I also have recording over there, a time lapse going, so that when I'm done recording this podcast, I don't just have the podcast done. I also have this time lapse done, which I can then use for an Instagram reel. So maybe you already have some time lapse recorded in your camera roll. If not, this is a great reminder to set a reminder for yourself so that every couple days you record a time lapse video, even if it's just a time lapse of you, writing on your computer, typing at your desk, or maybe cooking in the kitchen, or cleaning up your living room, or maybe like out working out or something. Just record some time lapse videos. And it kind of uses that change over time aspect, like the before and after videos, and it mixes it with a dynamic video style, which is time lapse videos, where it's like super fast and it's sped up and it's very engaging. My fifth idea for an easy Instagram reel that you can create in 5 minutes or less is a text post reel. Now, oftentimes when we think of reels, we think of video, right? We think short form video. We think a human talking to the camera or lip syncing or maybe like pointing at random text. But reels can just be a piece of text, like a plain old black background or blank single solid color background with some text on the screen. Screenshots of tweets or even fake screenshots of tweets can be used as reels. If you're not on X/Twitter, you could also do a screenshot of a thread. I know I do that all the time. I post things on threads, I take a screenshot, and then I delete it because I know that I'm only using the text that I just wrote to be a text post reel on Instagram. You can even quickly and easily create these in Canva. The awesome thing about text post reels is not only are they super easy to create, they have a very high watch time. I know we talked about watch time earlier, but with a text post reel, the reel itself might only be playing for like 3 to maybe 7 seconds, but it's going to take longer than that for people to read all of the text. So maybe people are going to pause the reel. Maybe they're going to watch the reel multiple times while they are reading the text. That improves your watch time, thus improving in the algorithm's eyes how good your reel is, and then your reel will be shown to more people. Text post reels are also awesome because people can consume them at their own pace. When you're doing a talking direct to camera style reel, everyone is basically forced to consume at the rate in which you are speaking. But some people are going to want to hear what you said again, or they're going to want you to talk slower. Some people want you to talk a little bit faster. But when they're reading, they're able to read at their own pace. They're able to reread sentences. They're able to read faster or skim. They're able to read slower if they really want to take in the information. And so text post reels can be a great way to serve your audience and allow them to consume your content at their own pace while still creating a reel that for you was super easy to make and performs really, really well. Something that I often do to create these text post reels is I just find reels that I have previously posted where I was talking directly to camera, or reels that I've previously posted that had a long caption. And then I will either take the transcription of what I was saying in the talking head video, copy it, and just turn that into a text post. Or I will take my long caption, copy that, and turn that into a text post. That way, I don't have to create new content. I don't have to come up with a fresh new idea and reinvent the wheel. I can just take words that I've already spoken in the case of a direct to camera reel, or take words that I've already written in the case of a long caption, copy it and paste it, boom, turn it into a text post reel. It's very, very easy to create, very easy to share, gets great engagement. And speaking of sharing, this is another kind of reel that is highly share worthy. It's something that is oftentimes very easy to send to a friend or post on an Instagram story because it's text. So, like I said, it's easy for people to consume, and thus it's highly share worthy by your audience, which just helps you get even more views. So far, just to recap, we have turning your stories into reels. That should only take you maybe a minute or two, just basically the time it takes to find the story. Number two, meme cutouts, specifically using CapCut templates. That's another thing that should only take you maybe a minute or two to just find the actual template you want to use, and then boom, insert your photo and add some text. Idea number three, before and afters. You likely already have a lot of that content already in your camera roll. Idea number four, time-lapse videos. That's something that might take you a little bit more time, but hopefully it's a kind of content that you can multitask with. So it's not dedicated time that you have to just spend on creating content. You can spend it doing something else that you actually need to do and have the content taken care of in the background. Idea number five, which we just talked about, was these text post reels. Very, very easy to create, especially if you're reusing words that you have already said or typed somewhere else. And now idea number six might be the most time consuming of all, but like I've said, all of these ideas are really just 5 minutes or less, is a point of view style reel. And you can add your own voiceover into the background. The cool thing about POV reels is that, yes, you could be very intentional and like record a whole day in your life, point of view style, where you're, taking people through your day and kind of filming every step along the way. Or you could just find videos that are already in your phone that you've already naturally, organically taken throughout the last few weeks or even months. Put those all together in a sequence, in a series, in your editor, whichever app you choose to edit with, and then add your own voiceover in the background. Maybe you're telling a story. Maybe you're talking about some sort of triumph that you've had. Maybe you're telling something that's more vulnerable. Maybe you're inspiring. Maybe you're teaching or sharing some sort of lesson. You can use all of these subsequent point of view style clips and then share your own point of view in the voiceover audio. And now, just a moment ago, I mentioned editing or whichever editing app you choose to use. And that is a disclaimer that I want to make, is that you don't have to edit in Instagram. Now, if you really enjoy editing in Instagram, if that's what's quickest and easiest for you, by all means, go for it. But your posts will not be hurt if you edit outside of Instagram. That is a myth, complete myth, that if you edit in iMovie or CapCut or some other editing app and then you post it to Instagram, the post will do worse. That is not true. That has been disproven many times. In fact, many times Instagram themselves have even recommended different editing apps that they find is useful, or they have let creators come on some of their official pages and talk about their favorite editing apps. So no, you do not need to use Instagram to edit your content. You can edit wherever you like. Number seven, last but not least, easy reels that you can create are what's called B-roll reels. Now, according to my recent polls of my own audience, B-roll reels are the number one most common kind of reel that people are posting. And it makes sense. They're very easy to create because you're essentially just using footage that you already have in your phone, videos that you've already taken, adding a very simple audio into the background, and then adding some text on the screen. It's that simple. Now, simple doesn't always necessarily mean easy, right? Because you still have to find the audio that you're going to add. You still have to figure out like what the reel is going to be about. It's great that you already have a video in your camera roll, but like, what should the text say? What should the caption say? That's why I decided to create a free guide with 20 B-roll reel ideas. We'll link that up down in the show notes below. Again, totally free, 20 ideas for your Instagram B-roll reels. B-roll is a term that comes from TV and film, and it essentially refers to back in the day when movies and TV shows were actually shot on rolls of film, and the A roll was like the main footage. It was like, both of the characters talking to each other, or if it was like, let's say, a commercial, it was the spokesperson talking directly to the camera. That was the A roll. The B roll was kind of like the behind the scenes footage, if you will, or it was the second shot. So if you've ever been watching a TV show and there's one angle where like the spokesperson or the talking head, whatever, they're talking directly to the camera, but then the camera cuts and there's like a second angle coming from the side and they're not making eye contact. You can tell they're still making eye contact with the original camera, but there's like the second angle. That's B-roll. B-roll can kind of just be thought of as footage from your everyday life, footage as if it was like reality TV. That's a good way to think of B-roll footage. It's footage where you're not making eye contact with the camera. That's really the biggest key you need to remember with B-roll. So it's as if there was just someone happened to be there filming me. Someone happened to be filming me during my workout. Someone happened to be filming me making breakfast. Someone happened to be filming me recording this podcast. That is B-roll content, and it's super easy to use with, like I mentioned earlier, just a simple background audio, maybe even a trending audio, and then adding some text that relates to your niche, adding some text that maybe teaches or inspires or educates your audience. But again, 20 free B-roll ideas linked up in the show notes below this episode. I want to thank you so much for listening today. You are truly awesome. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on next week's episode. And as always, happy networking.